My parents left me in a field on my sister's birthday, so I wouldn't ruin it with my issues. When I asked them why, they said, "You ruin everything. You should be grateful we didn't leave you there." I didn't say a word. Yesterday, my mom called 17 times, then sent a letter saying I destroyed the family. My parents loved me for my entire life until I turned 8 years old, because that's when I got diagnosed with high-functioning autism. You see, my parents saw that as a sign of them being too easy on me, that they had to amp up their punishments. And for years, my older brother Liam would defend me. When my parents would serve me 20% of what I should be eating, he would sneak me food in the middle of the night when everyone was asleep. Or when my parents randomly wailed on me to try to beat out the autism, he'd hold me while I cried. Most days, he was the only reason why I didn't commit suicide. But when I turned 15 and he was 16, he turned his back on me. When I went into his room at 2 a.m. to talk, he'd threaten to get our mom to kick me out if I didn't leave. Or another time, I was really overstimulated and started rubbing my thumb against my cheek. Usually, Liam would sit with me and take my hand, but suddenly he ran to tell our parents that I was doing it again, knowing full well they'd punish me. After that, I started walking through life as a heartless zombie. I spent pretty much every day dissociated, and whenever I snapped back to reality, I forced myself to zone out again because I just wanted to get through school so I could finally move out, especially since Liam wasn't going anywhere anytime soon. Luckily, my parents did do one thing for me. They paid for my college fees. In fact, they insisted on it, probably because they wanted to get rid of me, but I didn't care, because after all, a win is a win. Fast forward to me spending my first night in the dorm. That's when I got the text. It was Liam. "Don't reply to this. Please pick me up and drive me to your dorm at 4 p.m. on Saturday. Don't tell our parents. I'm sorry. I love you." My hand trembled as I stared at the text. Now he wanted to hang out. Now he wanted to be my brother again. That night I couldn't sleep. All the memories were replaying in my head like a broken record. But even as I thought about all the times Liam laughed at me getting wailed on, or urged my parents to force the autism out of me faster, I felt something. It was gratitude. Because after all, Liam was the one who tried to make sure I at least had some sort of childhood. I figured I owed him. So that Saturday I drove him. "Go faster," was the first thing he said when he got in. He then proceeded to duck down and lie on the floor of the back seat and refused to talk to me until we were in the dorm. Finally, he broke down. I comforted him through his anxiety attack, just as he did for me all those years ago. And after half an hour, he finally spoke. "I never meant to hurt you, Marco. I swear I thought she was pranking me." But then he told me something so shocking I felt like throwing up. "Do you remember my 16th birthday?" he asked, voice shaking. I nodded. My mom had driven me to a field miles away and left me there until the day was over, so I wouldn't ruin the day with my autism. "Well," he said. That's when tears started welling up in his eyes. My stomach dropped. "Mom, she took my first time from me." He didn't need to finish. I immediately grabbed his head and started rubbing his back. Our mom had taken his innocence. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry," he repeated over and over.
"She told me speaking to you would make me uglier, that your autism would rub off on me. So, if she ever caught me, then she'd do it to you too." Suddenly, it all made sense. I was immediately hit with a gnawing feeling of guilt for ever hating my brother, and apparently our dad knew. He just didn't care. I asked if they knew where he was, and he shook his head. This was good, because my dorm was far from my campus, and they had no idea where I lived.
I reassured him that I loved him and that I would keep him safe. He didn't know it, but I was going to make our parents pay for everything. The next morning, I woke up to Liam shaking me. He had this wild look in his eyes. "Marco, I just got a text from Zoe. Mom and Dad are telling everyone I'm mentally ill and made everything up." I grabbed my phone and checked my messages. Sure enough, Zoe had texted me too. "Hey, your parents are saying Liam had some kind of breakdown. They're trying to get family to help find him. What's going on?" My stomach dropped. Of course, they wouldn't just accept defeat. They were monsters, but they weren't stupid. They knew exactly how to play the concerned parent card. "What do we do?" Liam asked, pacing around the small dorm room. "What if people believe them?" I thought for a minute. "We have evidence, remember? They can say whatever they want, but we have proof." But Liam wasn't convinced. He kept pacing, chewing on his thumbnail like he used to do when we were kids and Mom was in one of her moods. "They're going to find me," he whispered. "They'll track my phone or something." I grabbed his shoulders. "No, they're not. I promised I'd keep you safe, and I will." I didn't tell him about the worries I had. No point adding to his stress. Instead, I texted Zoe back, "Don't believe everything you hear. Liam's safe. That's all I can say right now." Then I blocked her number. We couldn't risk any family members, even well-meaning ones, knowing where we were. That day, Liam and I skipped our usual trip to the dining hall. Too risky. Instead, I walked to the convenience store near campus and bought some sandwiches and snacks. When I got back, Liam had pushed my desk in front of the door. "Just in case," he said. We spent the day jumping at every noise in the hallway. Every time footsteps approached our door, Liam would freeze like a deer in headlights, but it was always just other students going about their day. By evening, we were both exhausted from the constant state of alert. I suggested we watch something on my laptop to distract ourselves. We ended up binging some stupid comedy show, and for a few hours, things almost felt normal. Liam even laughed a couple times. Around midnight, my phone buzzed with an email notification. It was from the burner account I'd set up. Someone had replied to one of our anonymous messages. I opened it, expecting the worst. Instead, Instead, it was from Mom's company. They wanted more information about the allegations. They were conducting an internal investigation and needed a statement from the victim. I showed it to Liam. What do you think? Should we respond? He stared at the screen for a long time. If I tell them everything, it becomes real, like officially real. It is real, I said gently. It happened, and she deserves consequences. Liam nodded slowly. I'll do it, but I need a day to write it all down, to figure out what to say. The next day, Liam spent hours typing on my laptop. I sat nearby working on assignments I'd fallen behind on. Occasionally, he'd ask me if I remembered certain details, dates, specific incidents. I helped as much as I could, but some of the worst stuff had happened when I wasn't around. While he worked, I checked our parents' social media. Dad had posted a tearful plea for anyone who had seen our son Liam to contact them immediately. He claimed Liam was not well and needs medical attention. The post had dozens of sympathetic comments, people offering prayers, sharing the post to spread the word. It made me sick. The same man who watched his wife abuse his sons for years was now playing the devastated father, and people were buying it. I didn't show Liam this either. He was already struggling enough with writing his statement. That night, Liam finished his account. He asked me to read it before he sent it. It was detailed, specific, and absolutely heartbreaking. He described not just the sexual assault on his birthday, but years of inappropriate touching, comments, and behavior from Mom, things he'd never even told me about. Is it too much? He asked nervously. Should I take some stuff out? I hugged him tight. It's your story. Tell as much or as little as you want. He decided to send it all. We attached it to a reply email, along with some of our evidence, and sent it to the HR department. Then Liam closed the laptop and curled up on my bed, emotionally drained. The next morning, we got a response. The company thanked us for the information and assured us it would be handled with the utmost seriousness and confidentiality. They also mentioned they had a legal obligation to report certain types of abuse to authorities. Liam panicked when he read that last part. They're going to call the police. I didn't want that. Hey, calm down, I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. They probably just have to say that for liability reasons. And even if they do report it, the police would need to find us first. This seemed to calm him a little, but he was still on edge. We decided to be extra careful. No more trips to the dining hall or convenience store. I'd asked my friend Alex to bring us food instead. Alex had been texting me all week wondering where I was. I hadn't told him anything specific, just that I was dealing with family stuff. When I finally called and asked if he could bring us some groceries, he immediately agreed. Are you in some kind of trouble? He asked when he dropped off the food. He glanced curiously at Liam, who was hiding in the bathroom. It's complicated, I said. I'll explain everything later. I promise. Just don't tell anyone I'm here, okay? Or that my brother is with me. Alex looked concerned, but nodded. Whatever you need, just let me know if I can help. After he left, Liam came out of the bathroom. Can we trust him? I nodded. Alex is solid. He won't say anything. That weekend, we got another email from Mom's company. They had terminated her employment, effective immediately. They couldn't share details of their investigation due to privacy policies, but they thanked us for coming forward. Liam and I high-fived when we read it. It felt like the first real win. But our celebration was short-lived. That same day, I got a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. When I played it, I nearly dropped my phone. It was Mom. Marco, I know you have Liam with you. This little game you two are playing has gone far enough. I've lost my job because of your lies. Your father is devastated. If you don't bring Liam home by Monday, we're going to the police to report him as a missing person. Think about what you're doing. Her voice was calm, reasonable, the same tone she used when talking to neighbors or teachers, the voice that had fooled everyone for years. But there was something else that terrified me. She sounded certain about our location, not like she was guessing or trying to trick us into confirming where we were. I deleted the message without letting Liam hear it, but I was shaken. Going to the police was exactly what we didn't want. If they filed a missing persons report, the police might actually look for Liam, and if they found him, they might make him go back home since he was still a minor. We needed a better plan, something more permanent. That night, after Liam fell asleep, I called the campus legal aid office. I pretended to be asking for a friend whose younger brother was being abused at home. The law student who answered explained that in our state, a minor could petition for emancipation under certain circumstances. Abuse was definitely one of them. When I told Liam about emancipation the next morning, he seemed interested but scared. Would I have to go to court? Would I have to see them? Maybe, I admitted, but you'd have a lawyer and all our evidence. He thought about it all day. Finally, that evening, he made a decision. I want to do it. I want to be legally free from them, but I'm scared to do it alone. You're not alone, I reminded him. I'm right here. The next day, we went to the legal aid office together. It was the first time Liam had left the dorm in over a week, and I could tell the open air made him nervous in a way it never used to. He wore a hoodie pulled low over his face, hands jammed in the pocket like he was trying to make himself smaller, and he kept looking around nervously as we walked across campus, flinching every time a car door slammed somewhere in the distance. I matched my pace to his, resisting the urge to hurry him along, even though every part of me wanted to get him indoors and out of sight as fast as possible. The legal aid office was tucked into the back corner of the student services building, a cramped room with a couple of mismatched chairs and a whiteboard someone had forgotten to erase. The law student we met with, Kayla, was patient and kind in a way that put both of us at ease almost immediately. She had a stack of manila folders in front front of her and a legal pad already covered in notes from our earlier phone call. She explained the whole emancipation process to Liam slowly, checking in after every few sentences to make sure he was following along. He would need to prove he could support himself financially, had a place to live, and that emancipation was in his best interest due to the abuse. She said the word abuse carefully, like she was handling something fragile, and I watched Liam's shoulders tense at the sound of it. The financial part is tricky, Kayla admitted, tapping her pen against the legal pad. Do you have a job or savings? Liam shook his head, staring down at his hands. He'd never been allowed to work. Mom always said it would distract from his studies, though we both knew the real reason was that she wanted him dependent, wanted him with no resources of his own, no way to leave. What about other family members who could help? Kayla asked. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, anyone who could either provide support directly or vouch for the household he'd be moving into. We looked at each other. Most of our extended family had sided with our parents in the past, had believed whatever version of events Mom and Dad had spun for them, had written us off as difficult, dramatic, ungrateful. But now, after everything we'd revealed, maybe that had changed. Maybe, I said slowly. We have an uncle in Colorado who always seemed to suspect something wasn't right. He used to send us cards with money that our parents would hold for us. Never saw a penny of that money, Liam muttered, and for a second there was real anger in his voice, the first flash of it I'd heard from him in days. Kayla suggested we contact this uncle, see if he'd be willing to help, and she wrote his name down on her legal pad even though we hadn't given her a last name yet. She also recommended we gather more evidence, medical records showing injuries, school reports noting behavioral changes, anything that could corroborate our claims. Judges like paper, she said. The more paper you bring, the less room there is for them to argue. On our way back to the dorm, Liam seemed more hopeful than I'd seen him in days, almost walking with a bounce in his step that I hadn't seen since we were kids. This could actually work, he said, glancing sideways at me like he needed permission to believe it. I could be legally free from them. I nodded, but I was distracted. I'd spotted a car that looked like Mom's in the campus parking lot, the same silver sedan she'd driven for years, parked at an angle like whoever had pulled in had been in a hurry. It was probably nothing. Lots of people had silver Hondas, and this was a big campus with thousands of visitors on any given day, but it put me on edge for the rest of the walk, and I found myself scanning every face we passed. When we got back to the dorm, there was a note taped to our door. My heart nearly stopped when I saw it, thinking it might be from our parents, who had somehow tracked us down despite everything we'd done to stay hidden. My hands were actually shaking as I reached for it, but it was just from my RA, reminding everyone about the upcoming fire drill, the kind of mundane, forgettable notice that under any other circumstances, I wouldn't have even glanced at twice. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding and crumpled it into my pocket. Inside, Liam immediately went to my laptop and started searching for Uncle Steve's contact information, typing with a kind of urgency like he was afraid the window of opportunity might close if he waited. We hadn't spoken to him in years, not since Mom had a big fight with him at Thanksgiving when I was 12. A fight so loud and ugly that Uncle Steve had left before dessert and never come back for another holiday. Found him? Liam exclaimed after about 20 minutes of searching, spinning the laptop around so I could see the screen. He's on Facebook. His profile picture was recent, him standing in front of a mountain somewhere squinting into the sun. We crafted a careful message together, going back and forth on the wording, not revealing too much, but asking if we could call him about an important family matter. Then we waited, both of us staring at the screen like it might refresh itself faster if we watched closely enough. The response came faster than we expected. Within an hour, Uncle Steve had not only replied, but given us his phone number with a message that made both of our throats tighten. Call anytime. I've been worried about you boys for years. Liam and I looked at each other. Had Uncle Steve known all along? Had he tried to help and been pushed away by our parents, the same way so many people had been pushed away over the years, told we were fine, told he was overreacting, told to mind his own business? I dialed the number with shaking hands and put it on speaker, setting the phone down on the desk between us like it was something delicate. Hello? Uncle Steve's voice was just as I remembered it, warm and a little husky, the kind of voice that used to read us bedtime stories on the rare visits we were allowed. Uncle Steve, it's Marco. I have Liam here with me too. Oh my God, boys, are you okay? I've been seeing some strange posts from your father. His voice cracked slightly on the last word, like he already suspected what we were about to tell him. We took turns explaining everything. Well, not everything, but enough. The abuse, Liam's escape, our plan for emancipation. I watched Liam's face as he spoke, saw him get more confident with every sentence, like saying it out loud to someone who actually believed him was giving him strength he hadn't had in years. Uncle Steve listened without interrupting, occasionally making small sounds of distress, a sharp intake of breath, a muttered, "Oh no," under his breath. When we finished, there was a long silence, long enough that I checked the screen to make sure the call hadn't dropped. Then he spoke, his voice thick with emotion. I always suspected something wasn't right. The way you both flinched when your mother raised her voice. How thin you were, Marco. The way your father would change the subject whenever I asked too many questions. He took a deep breath, and I could hear him steadying himself on the other end of the line. I tried to report it once, you know. Called CPS after that Thanksgiving visit, but they said without without evidence, there wasn't much they could do. Your parents must have convinced them everything was fine. I felt a surge of gratitude toward this man who had tried to help us when no one else would, who had made a call that went nowhere but had tried anyway, back when we were still too young and too scared to say anything ourselves. So, will you help Liam with the emancipation? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. He needs financial support, at least on paper. Of course I will, Uncle Steve said without hesitation, and something in his tone made it clear he'd already decided before I'd even finished the question. In fact, I want to do more than that. I want to offer Liam a place to stay. I have a spare room. He could finish high school here in Colorado, away from all of this. Liam's eyes widened, and for a second he looked like he might cry. Really? You'd do that? In a heartbeat, Uncle Steve replied. And Marco too, during breaks. You're both welcome here anytime. He said it so simply, like it wasn't even a question. Like, of course, two boys who'd survived what we'd survived deserved a door that was always open to them. For the first time since this whole nightmare began, I felt like we might actually have a future, a real one, with people who actually cared about us, who wouldn't twist our pain into something to be managed or hidden or punished out of us. The next day, we went back to the legal aid office. Kayla helped us start the emancipation paperwork with Uncle Steve joining by phone, his voice steady and clear as he answered her questions about his income, his home, his willingness to take on guardianship responsibilities. He agreed to sign an affidavit stating he would provide housing and financial support for Liam, and Kayla promised to have the documents drawn up within a few days. Things were finally looking up until I checked my email that night. There was a message from my academic advisor. Subject line, urgent, academic probation warning. I'd missed so many classes and assignments that I was in danger of failing the semester. If I didn't get back on track immediately, I could lose my scholarship. And without that scholarship, I'd have to move back home. I stared at the email in horror, reading it twice like the words might rearrange themselves into something less catastrophic the second time. How had I forgotten about this? I'd been so focused on helping Liam that I'd completely neglected my own situation, and now the weight of it landed on me all at once, a problem I hadn't even seen coming. What's wrong? Liam asked, noticing my expression change. I showed him the email, watched his face fall as he read it. If I lose my scholarship, I can't stay here. And if you can't stay here, then I can't either, Liam finished, his voice suddenly small again, all the hope from the day before draining out of it. Not until the emancipation goes through. We sat in silence, the weight of this new problem settling over us like a physical thing in the room. You have to go back to class, Liam finally said, sitting up straighter like he was forcing himself to be brave. I'll be okay here by myself. No way, I shook my head immediately. What if they find you? What if they try to take you back? They don't know which dorm I'm in, Liam reminded me, and there was a steadiness in his voice that hadn't been there a week ago. And I won't answer the door for anyone but you. I still didn't like it. Every instinct I had told me not to leave him alone, not even for a few hours. But he was right. I had to salvage my academic standing, or neither of us would have anywhere safe to land. Look at this, he said, showing me his notebook. I wrote down every major incident I can remember, with dates when possible, and I found my old journals. There's stuff in there from years ago that could help. I was impressed by his organization. This is great, Liam. Really helpful. He beamed at the praise. It struck me then how rarely he must have heard positive feedback growing up. Our parents had only ever criticized, never encouraged. The next few days fell into a routine. I'd go to classes and work on assignments while Liam stayed in the dorm preparing his case. In the evenings, we'd compare notes and plan our next steps. It was almost starting to feel normal. Almost. Then came the email from Dad. It was sent to my student email address, which I hadn't thought to check regularly. The subject line was simply, "Please read." Against my better judgment, I opened it. Marco, I don't know what lies your brother has been telling you, but your mother and I are worried sick. Liam needs help. Professional help. He's always been troubled. You know that. Remember all those times he'd make up stories for attention? This is just like that, only worse. Your mother is devastated by these accusations. How could you believe such terrible things about her after everything we've done for you both? We paid for your college, Marco. We gave you everything. If you help bring Liam home, we can forget this ever happened. We won't be angry. We just want our family back together. Please, Marco, do the right thing. Dad. I read it 3 times, feeling sicker each time. The manipulation was so obvious now that I was away from them. I showed the email to Liam. His hands shook as he read it. He's lying, Liam whispered. You know he's lying, right? Of course I know, I assured him. I was there, remember? I saw what they did to us. Liam nodded, but he looked unsettled for the rest of the day. That night I heard him crying in his sleep. The next morning, I woke up to find Liam sitting at my desk, staring at the laptop screen. Dad emailed me too, he said flatly. He says Mom is having heart problems from the stress. He says it'll be my fault if she dies. I jumped out of bed and looked at the screen. Don't listen to him, I said firmly. Mom is not having heart problems. They're just trying to guilt you into coming back. Liam nodded, but he looked uncertain. What if she is sick though? What if she's not? I cut him off. And even if she was, it wouldn't be your fault. None of this is your fault, Liam. He closed the laptop and rubbed his eyes. I know that logically. It's just, they're still in my head. All those years of them making me feel responsible for everything. I knew exactly what he meant. I still caught myself thinking that way sometimes. sometimes. That if I'd just been better, tried harder, been less autistic somehow, maybe they wouldn't have hurt us. We need to block their emails, I decided. We spent the morning figuring out how to filter their messages into a separate folder we wouldn't have to see. That afternoon, I had a meeting with my academic advisor. As I was leaving his office, my phone buzzed with a text from Liam. Someone's knocking on the door, not answering. I texted back immediately. Good, don't open it. On my way. I practically ran across campus, my heart pounding. Had they found us? When I got to the dorm, the hallway was empty. I unlocked the door and found Liam sitting on the bed looking pale. They knocked for like 5 minutes, he said. Then they slipped this under the door. He handed me a folded piece of paper. I opened it, expecting the worst. It was from the RA, mandatory floor meeting tonight at 8 Cow. Attendance required. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. It's just dorm stuff, nothing to worry about. Liam nodded, but he still looked shaken. I thought it was them. I thought they'd found me. I sat next to him. Even if they somehow figured out which dorm I'm in, they can't get past the front desk without a student ID. You're safe here. That evening, I went to the floor meeting, while Liam stayed locked in the room. It was just the usual dorm announcements. When I got back, Liam was on the phone with Uncle Steve, discussing details of his potential move to Colorado. It was nice to hear him sounding excited about the future. It was almost midnight when my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. I know where you are, both of you. This ends now. I stared at the message, my blood turning to ice. It had to be Mom. Who else would send something like that? I showed it to Liam, whose face went white. How did she get your new number? How does she know where we are? I shook my head. She's bluffing. She has to be. But even as I said it, I wasn't sure. Mom had always been resourceful when it came to controlling us. We need to leave, Liam said, already grabbing his backpack. Right now. Wait, I said, trying to stay calm. If we panic and run, we might end up somewhere less safe. The dorm has security. What if they call the police? What if they report me missing and the police come looking? He had a point. Okay, I said. Let's call Kayla from legal aid. See what she advises. It was late, but this was an emergency. Thankfully, Kayla answered. I explained the situation as calmly as I could. First of all, Kayla said, don't respond to the text. If it is your mother, engaging will only confirm your location. Even if she does know where you are, she can't legally force Liam to go anywhere without police involvement. And if the police do get involved, that's when you show them your evidence, the abuse, the threats, everything. But I don't want to talk to the police, Liam protested. I understand, Kayla said gently, but if it comes to that, I'll be there with you. You won't have to face them alone. After we hung up, Liam seemed slightly calmer. We spent the next hour gathering our most important documents and evidence, making sure everything was easily accessible if we needed to leave quickly. Then we tried to get some sleep, taking turns keeping watch. Morning came without incident. Maybe Mom had been bluffing after all. But as I was getting ready for class, my phone rang. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Hello, Marco. It was Mom's voice. My stomach dropped. I'm on campus. We need to talk. I hung up immediately, hands shaking. She's here, I told Liam. On campus. Liam started hyperventilating. I grabbed his shoulders. Listen to me. She doesn't know which building we're in. There are dozens of dorms. We're still safe. He nodded, trying to control his breathing. What do we do? I thought quickly. I'll call Alex, ask if we can stay at his apartment for a few days. Alex agreed without hesitation when I called. He lived off campus in a small apartment with his roommate Jake. It wasn't ideal, but it would be safer than staying in the dorm if Mom was really searching the campus. We packed quickly, just the essentials and our evidence. Then we waited until most students would be in class, when the hallways would be empty. I peeked out first, checking that the coast was clear. Then we made a run for it. We made it to Alex's apartment without incident. Once inside, we locked the door and collapsed on the couch, exhausted from the constant stress. When Alex got home from class, he took one look at our faces and knew something was seriously wrong. Okay, he said, sitting down across from us. I think it's time you told me what's really going on. So we did. Not everything, but enough for him to understand why we were hiding. Alex listened without interrupting, his expression growing more horrified with each revelation. Jesus, he said when we finished. Of course you can stay here as long as you need, and if anyone comes looking for you, I've never seen you in my life. His immediate support brought tears to my eyes. The next morning, Kayla called with news. Your mother's been arrested. The police acted on the report from her company and the evidence you provided. Liam and I stared at each other in shock. Arrested? Really? Yes, Kayla confirmed. Multiple charges, including sexual assault of a minor. There's a bail hearing scheduled for tomorrow. It means there's now an official police investigation, and it means your mother can't come near either of you. There's automatically a temporary restraining order in place. After we hung up, Liam burst into tears. I can't believe it's actually happening. I thought no one would ever believe us. I hugged him tight. People believe us, and Mom's gonna pay for what she did. The next day, Kayla called with news about the bail hearing. The judge set bail at $250,000. Your father is trying to get the money together, but it might take some time. So she's still in jail? Liam asked, hope evident in his voice. For now, yes. A week passed. Mom remained in jail, unable to make bail. Dad had apparently been calling family members asking for loans, but not many were willing to help. The evidence was too damning. Liam's emancipation hearing was coming up in just over a week. Kayla was confident it it would be granted, especially now with the criminal charges. Once that happened, Liam could legally move to Colorado. Things were looking up, maybe too much so, because that's when the next blow came. I was in class when my phone buzzed with a text from Liam. Dad's here, outside the dorm. He's crying and making a scene. My heart raced as I grabbed my things and ran out. When I got to the dorm, there was a small crowd gathered outside. In the middle stood my father, tears streaming down his face as he wailed about his poor, sick son who needed to come home. Campus security was already there trying to calm him down. I pushed through the crowd, anger burning in my chest. "What are you doing here?" Dad turned to me, his face transforming from distress to manipulation in an instant. "Marco, thank God. You need to help me get your brother. He's not well. He needs to come home where I can take care of him." The performance was impressive, I'll give him that. Anyone watching would think he was just a concerned father, but I knew better. "Liam has a restraining order against you," I said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "You're not supposed to be anywhere near him." Dad's face hardened for a split second before the tears returned. "That's all a misunderstanding. Your mother never hurt anyone. Liam is confused, making up stories." "Stop it," I cut him off. "Just stop. Everyone knows the truth now. Mom's in jail. It's over." Campus security stepped between us. "Sir, we're going to have to ask you to leave university property," one officer said. "If you have a restraining order against you, being here could result in your arrest." Dad looked around at the crowd, realizing he wasn't getting the sympathy he expected. "This isn't over!" he hissed at me before allowing security to escort him away. I rushed up to the dorm room where Liam was huddled on my bed, shaking. "Is he gone?" he asked when I came in. "Yeah, security took him away." I sat next to him. "He was screaming my name," Liam said, "saying I needed to come home, that I was sick and confused. Some people were filming it. He can't hurt you," I reminded him. "The restraining order protects you, and your emancipation hearing is next week. After that, you'll be legally free from both of them." That night, videos of Dad's meltdown started circulating on campus social media. Most comments were supportive of us, but a few questioned whether Liam really was confused or mentally ill. It made my blood boil. The next day, I got an email from the dean of students asking me to come to his office. My stomach dropped, but when I arrived, Dean Patterson was surprisingly sympathetic. "I've been briefed on your situation," he said. "The university supports you and your brother. We've instructed security to be on alert for your parents, and we can arrange academic accommodations if you need them." I nearly cried from relief. I asked if there was any way we could get a single room. By the end of the day, we had approval to move to a small single room in a quieter dorm. No roommate to explain things to, just ours. The day of Liam's emancipation hearing finally arrived. Kayla met us at the courthouse looking confident. "Everything's in order," she assured us. We were directed to a small courtroom. My heart nearly stopped when I saw Dad sitting on one of the benches. Despite the restraining order, he was allowed to be there as Liam's legal guardian for this specific proceeding. He was dressed like he was going to church, all modest and proper. Liam squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. "He's going to try to stop it," he whispered. "He can try," I whispered back, "but he won't succeed." The hearing itself was surprisingly brief. The judge reviewed the paperwork, asked Liam a few questions about his plans. Uncle Steve testified via video call, confirming he would provide housing and support. Then it was Dad's turn to speak. He stood up, dabbing at his eyes with a tissue. "Your Honor, my son is a troubled boy who has been manipulated by his brother," he began. "These allegations against my wife are completely false. Liam has always had emotional problems." "Mr. Thompson," the judge interrupted, "I have reviewed the police reports and the temporary restraining order. Your wife is currently in custody on serious charges related to child abuse. Are you suggesting the police and district attorney are also being manipulated?" Dad faltered. "No, but furthermore," the judge continued, "I have statements from Liam's teachers noting behavioral changes consistent with trauma. I have medical records documenting injuries, and I have Liam's own testimony, which I find credible." Dad's face hardened. "He's lying. They both are." The judge looked at him over his glasses. "Mr. Thompson, I suggest you consider your position carefully. Continuing to deny documented abuse could reflect poorly on you in any future proceedings." That shut him up. After a few more questions, the judge made his decision. "I find that emancipation is in Liam's best interest. Petition granted, effective immediately." Liam burst into tears beside me. Happy tears this time. He was free. As we left the courtroom, Dad tried to approach us. "Liam, please, you're making a terrible mistake." Kayla stepped between us. "Mr. Thompson, your son has a restraining order against you. I suggest you keep your distance." Dad's face contorted with rage. "This isn't over," he hissed. "You'll regret this, both of you." But his threats felt empty now. Liam was emancipated. Mom was in jail. Their power over us was broken. The next 2 weeks flew by. Uncle Steve had already enrolled Liam in the local high school and set up his bedroom. Detective Ramirez kept us updated. The case was moving forward with more charges being added. Dad was now also under investigation for child endangerment and failure to report abuse. The day before Liam's flight, we got a letter. It had been forwarded from our old dorm. No return address, but the handwriting was unmistakably Dad's. Liam and I stared at it. "Should we open it?" he asked. I shrugged. "Might as well see what lies he's telling now." Inside was a single sheet of paper. No tearful pleas this time. No manipulation. Just a short, cold message. You've destroyed this family. Your mother is broken. I've lost everything because of your lies. I hope you're satisfied with what you've done. Don't ever contact us again." Liam read it twice, then handed it back to me. He still doesn't get it, does he? They destroyed the family, not us. I nodded, crumpling up the letter and tossing it in the trash. Some people never take responsibility for their actions, but it doesn't matter anymore. We're free of them. The next day, I drove Liam to the airport. We hugged for a long time at the security checkpoint. "Thank you," he whispered, "for believing me, for everything." I hugged him tighter. That's what brothers do. We protect each other. As I watched him walk through security, he turned back once and smiled. The little brother who used to sneak into my room at night, finally safe. My phone buzzed. "Made it through. Already miss you." For the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid. I texted back one word, "free," and walked out into the cold autumn air.